It's Blue Moon Rising TV. This is the weekend review. I'm here with David Mooney from ESPN, Manchester City's correspondent, and Rob Pollard from Bleacher Report, City's correspondent as well. We're going to review this weekend's games, starting with Manchester City against Everton. City 1, Everton 0. What was your take on the game?
I think it was a vital kind of 3 points. I think it was one of those games where the performance, it doesn't really matter. That's probably something to do with the fact that the star striker of the last few weeks has been carried off 2 minutes into the game. But pretty much, I think the most important thing was that City held on in the end. They didn't put in a performance like they have done against Sunderland, against Southampton. But it was crucial that they got the scrappy goal in the penalty, and they hung on. That was the biggest thing, I thought.
Rob, in terms of Sergio going off after the first 2 minutes, you could sense the atmosphere in the stadium, almost a little bit of a sideshow after that, because obviously the thoughts go to what's the extent of the injury. How did you think City coped with the injury, and in terms of the result, was that all that was crucial, or you saw things in the performance?
I agree with David that the 3 points yesterday was by far the most important thing, especially with the Chelsea result early in the day. Making sure we got 3 points was vital, but I was disappointed with the performance, because the good thing about the 2 games previous, obviously 6 points was vital, Southampton, Sunderland, but the performances were fantastic. We're moving the ball so much more quickly than we had been, and we're just playing really good football again. It was reminiscent of the football we were playing sort of this time last year, which was probably the best run of form I've ever seen City manage. But in terms of Aguero, I think obviously we don't know at this stage how long we're going to be missing him, but however long it is, it's going to be a blow, because there's no one else, there's no one else at the club, there's probably no one else in the world who quite has those same qualities that he's got, the way he can sort of shift the ball and shoot in a space of like a split second or whatever. So he's going to be a big loss. There's no question about that, really.
In terms of that, I think in terms of Sergio Aguero, as you say, there's nobody else in the world we could prospectively turn to even in January if we were thinking of buying somebody in as a replacement. But in terms of Edin Dzeko, is it now time again to see Edin Dzeko step up in a blue shirt?
Yeah, I think so. And you look at the times when he's been the sole striker available. I mean, you think back to the end of last season. He was in form to the point where you were looking at him as the man that's going to score the crucial goals at the crucial times. Think to the Aston Villa game. City spent the whole of the first half knocking on the door. And then Dzeko pops up with, it's a relatively simple finish, but he's in the right place at the right time. And he's one of those players that always kind of seems to come out fighting for City. He's not got, he goes through peaks and troughs, he has some great games, he has some terrible games, but he always seems to be there when they need him. And that, is one of the things that you can kind of hang on to. Even if we don't, like Rob said, we don't know the extent of the Aguero injury. It could be a long time, might not be as long as we fear. But even in that time, even if Dzeko is the only one available, we don't know about Jovetic, about how well he'll stay fit. But I certainly think Dzeko can come in and do the business for in so much as the short term.
The short term. Rob, your take on Edin Dzeko?
Well, I mean, Edin Dzeko is a conundrum, isn't he? Really, I mean, I agree. He scores what David Platt used to describe as heavy goals, and I completely agree with that. It's like he scores. There's a difference between scoring the 5th goal in a 5-0 win in a League Cup game and the winner in a game that's going to set you up to win the title or whatever. And Dzeko is capable. He's proven it so many times now that you just can't deny it. He's capable of scoring those really big goals, but at the same time, it's difficult sometimes to think, can he put 10, 20 games together where he's going to be absolutely the striker that City need? And there is still a question mark about that. I mean, I like the guy. I used to have serious question marks about him, but he's sort of won me over. But at the same time, I agree with David. He goes through peaks and troughs. I mean, he's just been through a trough, hasn't he? He had a run during the time when City was struggling. West Ham, I remember he was particularly poor. There was a couple of games, where his touch was letting him down again. But then I think since Pellegrini came in, or certainly since January of this year, let's say, he's certainly improved his all-round game, and now's the time for him again. He's got a real opportunity now again to show it, hasn't he, that he's a quality striker and that he can do the business for City.
Yeah, we've obviously touched on yesterday was crucial in getting the 3 points. The performance, as you said, wasn't quite there. What was your take on Chelsea going up to Newcastle? Mourinho's never won there as a manager, which again was a similar sort of stat that when I saw midweek Zabaleta saying, "I've never won at the Stadium of Light," I was thinking, how long have, it's been a long time since we won there. City got over their hoodoo, Chelsea didn't. Where does that leave us now?
I think it leaves us with certainly quite a bright picture for the rest of the season. I mean, you think that one bookmaker's already paid out on Chelsea winning the title, which is it's ridiculously
Usually
premature. But you think about that sort of thing, and all of a sudden, one result like that. I mean, Chelsea have had 2 results that haven't been particularly good. They drew at Sunderland, then lost at Newcastle, and you think that in terms of what that's allowed City to do. Just closing that gap by 3 points, that's one game.
Yeah.
That's one more result where Chelsea slip up and one where City win. Suddenly it's level pegging again. And we with still over half the season to go, I think it's very premature to say that Chelsea are going to run away and walk this league. It also put paid to the end to the talk of Chelsea going through the season undefeated.
Yeah.
The whole momentum thing that they were gathering with their unbeaten run. We could see an entirely different Chelsea side come off the back of this Newcastle game. They could have the confidence knocked to the point where the next 4 or 5 games could be very difficult for them.
Yeah.
And City are currently, City are on their longest winning spell in the Premier League this season so far now with 4 games.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a potential momentum shift there.
Yeah, I agree with you. One thing that was notable to me in the press conference afterwards with Mourinho was he looked flustered. I mean, he was grasping for straws. It's rare you see that. You see a Mourinho statement, but he was saying the ball boys had something to do with it, getting the ball back into play, too slow or 2 balls on the pitch. But it's rare Mourinho does that sort of stuff.
It's grasping at thin air because, you think you've got 90 minutes to win a game. I mean, we've done it as City fans. You get upset that the opposition wastes time, but that's a perfectly reasonable game plan that teams come with. And Newcastle scored twice in that time. Chelsea scored once. That's the be all and end all of it. They've had 90 minutes to do something about it. Yeah, they haven't done it. So,
Robin, in terms of obviously Chelsea were 2-0 down, player sent off for Newcastle when Drogba scored. Do you think those are defining moments for them? They needed to get an equaliser. When they look back at the end of the season, that could be a crucial point that they ended up not getting anything from that game against 10 men.
Yeah, it could be a crucial game. I agree with what David said. It was premature to say that Chelsea were going to run away with it or whatever. This is a tough league. I know that's become a little bit of a cliche, but it is a fact that there's a lot of quality in the league now. So there's always going to be slip-ups. The only thing that negates everything that you've just said is the Aguero problem, because if he is out, just let's say he's out for 4 months, I think that would make it pretty difficult for us.
But again, though, you look at how City cope without Aguero.
Well, we did. We went through a 6-game run where we won all 6 without him. And then if you think about it, even when he came back at the end of last year, he was never fully fit, and we still managed to get over the line in the league. So there is hope. But the only difference is that Chelsea do look stronger this year than Liverpool. Definitely stronger than Liverpool, our main challengers were last season. So that's the only worry again there.
It does. 2 weeks ago it was 8-9 points the gap, and really in the blink of an eye it's 3. So it shows how fast things can change in the Premier League. But ultimately, as you say, unfortunately for City, we can never canter through a game at the end all rub our hands, can it? There's always a spectre or a shadow of some sort of problem. Yeah. But I think we would definitely have taken it 2 weeks ago to be within 3 at this point.
Oh, without a shadow of doubt, yeah.
In terms of potential other rivals at the start of the season, what was your take on Arsenal going to Stoke and obviously?
It's neither here nor there, is it?
It's kind of predictable that Arsenal go to Stoke and don't get anything these days. In the same sense that City go there and generally get a 1-1 draw these days.
I don't think Arsenal are ever going to be, serious contenders. Really, I know that they do what they always do, don't they? They sort of show flashes of brilliance at times early in the season. You're thinking maybe this is the year that he's put together a squad that's capable of doing it, but there's a mental weakness, I think, at Arsenal. I think it's just time and time again it's been shown up that they just don't have. Last year was a great example because they actually were in contention until sort of the turn of the year, you know, and that was like the longest it stayed or for some time it was like the longest it felt like they were serious contenders, and they sort of blew it again, didn't they? So I mean, it was good to see it. So whenever you see an Arsenal or a Liverpool dropping points, it's good, but how actually significant it is, I think it's pretty much City and Chelsea are probably going to contest this league, I would have thought.
Yeah, you mentioned Liverpool. What should been your take on, obviously, again, a disappointing result again yesterday?
I think they were clearly a one-man team last year. You know, I think that, I mean, that's harsh actually, because there were other players who played particularly well who aren't playing well now, but they were carried to a certain extent by one exceptionally good player. And then you look at the kind of signings that he's made in the summer, and they're indicative of the signings he's made throughout his time. If you look at the players Brendan Rodgers has signed and how many of those are actually regularly in the first team, there's not actually that many. Where he did well was taking some of Dalglish's players and making them better than they were previously. So for me, yeah, Liverpool look like a pretty average side at the moment, I have to say.
I think it's interesting as well, certainly from what I've seen on the likes of Twitter and whatnot, that Daniel Sturridge's absence, he seems to have gone to a player that is now one of the best in the world, you know, anywhere ever.
He is a very good player.
He's a very good player, but he seems to, because in his absence, he's been elevated to this status that is, you know, that I don't quite think he's deserving of. He's been an excellent player for them and he's done very well there, but I don't think he's the answer to all of the problems that they've got at the moment.
And in terms of the Blue connection, obviously Mario Balotelli, what's your take on his move to Liverpool and where Mario is? He'll always be a legend at City and we will always love him. I think we got him at a point of his career where, you know, we had Mancini behind him and potentially got the best from him. But what's your take on what he's doing at Liverpool and where he might go as a player?
He's doing exactly what he did at City, really, to be honest.
No, he's not.
He's creating a lot of headlines, certainly away from the pitch, that I think are distracting a lot of what could be going on the pitch for them.
Yeah, but
I don't think we've seen the talent that he's got.
Well, that's what I mean. He's not doing what he did at City, because at least at City he produced on the pitch. I mean, his form for Liverpool has been absolutely dreadful. I'm a big fan of Balotelli. A big fan of his talent. I think he's one of the most naturally gifted footballers in Europe. You know, in terms of physical strength and his technical quality. I think he's got the potential to be a great player, but he's played so badly since he's been there that there's just no defence for it. But to take the point about the headlines that he makes, the headlines, it's the same again. A lot of it is not Mario Balotelli's fault, and that is where I do actually have sympathy with him. And I also think that the way Brendan Rodgers has managed him has been pathetic, to be honest. I think that some of the comments and the system that he tries to use him in. I mean, the press conference where he basically said that he didn't want to sign Balotelli, but he got to the stage. He pretty much said he got to the stage where he needed someone, and he was running out of time, so I signed Balotelli. I mean, what kind of comment is that for a manager?
Then all of a sudden you pat him on the back and say, "Go on there, go out and produce."
It's just ridiculous.
And Balotelli, as we know as City fans, he thrives. He needs to be loved, doesn't he? You can sense that he needs that affection, not only from the fans but from a manager. And as you say, I don't think he's being managed particularly well by Rodgers.
Well, I look at one game during Balotelli's time at City that I think really stands out was when he came on against Everton in the 11-12 season, and he came on, changed the game, scored the goal. The first person he ran to when he scored was Mancini. And it just kind of it was almost as if a thank you for having faith in me sort of thing. And I don't see him doing anything kind of like that at Liverpool.
He'll go to Inter. Well, he'll probably go to Inter Milan.
It'd be very typical of a Balotelli move. Last one for the reviewing this weekend, West Ham. What you take on what Sam Allardyce is doing there? And obviously we went there, and to be fair, West Ham I thought played well, and we didn't start playing until late on in the game. But have you been impressed by what Allardyce has achieved? A lot for me is down to Alex Song, if I'm honest.
He's been fantastic. Yeah.
But I think a big thing for Allardyce has been moving the position of Stuart Downing. I think, you know, when Downing was playing for Liverpool and for Aston Villa, he's an out and out left winger, and you're thinking, well, he's not really that influential in the game. He's not doing too much in terms of creativity. All of a sudden, he's been playing the number 10 role this season, and you know, he's been, you know, whack him in your fancy league team. You're getting assist points every week. He's been so crucial for them in terms of what they can create. It's been like a revelation, and I think I'm you know, Allardyce has this stereotype of a style of football that he plays. You know, get it up to the big man, and they've got Andy Carroll there, who is obviously who is the target. But I think I'm been mildly impressed with how he's been working the ball through the thirds on the pitch instead of just lumping it long to the target man.
Yeah.
And I think there's been getting a lot of praise for that.
I think that other than Chelsea, I think West Ham had the best transfer window, and I think that has given them, you know, a platform to play better football and get better results. I think it's just as simple as that. I think his recruitment has been particularly good, and certainly, you know, the couple of forwards he's brought in and Alex Song, like you say, that was a real
steal.
Yeah, good move that. And they look all right. You know, they look like a good side.
It's almost a player, Alex Song, just to finish the review on that, is that Arsenal probably needed, that Spurs probably needed, that Liverpool probably needed, and Allardyce got the credit where credit's due. And I think it's a true testimony of sticking with your manager, technically, if he's the right man for the job.
Well, he was a dead man. I mean, if you remember when we played them in the League Cup, I remember the press conference after that game, and he felt in that room like he was gone. You know, he was that close. It was very similar to Alan Pardew earlier this year.
If he'd started the season badly this year, you know, he wouldn't have been in the job now.
You mentioned Pardew. I mean, there was the great banner, wasn't it, Halloween? Pardew back from the dead.
That's been an incredible story, hasn't it?
Yes.
You know, because I think they're 3 points off third this morning.
Yeah.
Which
it's incredible.
You wouldn't have said that 6 weeks ago.
Yeah, no.
It's almost as good a turnaround as being 8 points behind and only 3 points behind. That's the weekend review.